Good day, Dan Davis, co-founder of Financial Planning World, co-founder of 80K Wealth Advisory Group. In our series, Best Practices, we are talking today about retirement planning projections and how important it is to do that from a standpoint of really quality inputs, because you've heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. It really is germane to this topic, and I'm embarrassed to say that 30 plus years ago when I started doing financial planning, a lot of what we were taught was not all that great. And so we would do a lot of these data inputs and oversimplify it, and then 10 years later I'd be working through with clients looking back at some of these old financial plans and how it played out in their life was so radically different. I'm joined today by Sam Miller. He's the co-founder of Financial Planning World and expert in the retirement projections that we do for our clients. So Sam, tell me a little bit about what you think is really important when you're doing the financial projections.
It's very important that we don't oversimplify the process. There are multiple different variables that we need to consider that often get overlooked. With calculators that when you do it online or unfortunately with some other financial advisors, they will oversimplify the process, and because of that, that could be very damaging to a client's retirement projections or college projections or any projections really.
I know when we were preparing for this, we went in and did just sort of a hypothetical, and we titled it John and James Smith. And I'm looking at it right now, and so are the folks who are watching our video. And we have two scenarios. We have a scenario where it's full Social Security and a 3% medical inflation, and the client ends with ending assets above where they started at about 1.5 million. And then right next to it, we're seeing that they only get 75% of their Social Security, and we're inflating medical cost at 6%, and they run out of money. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so with all the other variables being constant, you can see how important these two variables are. And these are just two of the variables that we decided to separate. And so really when we are doing retirement projections for a client, we want to put the ball in their court, and we want their retirement to be based upon what we can control. Items like Social Security and Medicare are completely beyond our control. We have no ability to control those costs, and so to not properly inflate those and to actually believe that we're going to get 100% of Social Security and that it's going to inflate every year of retirement is often foolish. And so we look at a lot of other of our clients when they bring us financial projections from other firms or the stuff that they've printed off offline. Oftentimes they've completely overestimated their goals.
When you made the decision to look at these, how important is it to you to separate medical and change the inflation rate?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. You really cannot do proper retirement projecting without separating the medical cost and not separating the Social Security and running different scenarios to say, well, what happens if we don't get everything with Social Security? Here we just ran that you get 100% of what you're promised and 75% of what you're promised, and oftentimes we like to see some other scenarios, but maybe you only get half of what you're supposed to get through the Social Security Administration.
I notice on the chart that we are showing right now, the cash flow expense flows, that you have a column for home improvements, then you've separated Jane and John's Medicare, and then the mortgage. Speak to home improvements and mortgage.
Yeah, so oftentimes when you do these online calculators or the simplistic approach will say, well, what are my expenses? And so you go back and you look at your budget and you spend X dollars a year. However, things like mortgage have a definitive ending date, and things like home improvements aren't happening every year. Now there's home maintenance that might be included in the budget, but things like a new roof, a new furnace, you have to include those things because they are going to happen. Whether it be in 5 years or whether it be in 20 years, we have to do our best to separate those out and include those. Another thing is car purchases. Those often get overlooked, but those are a huge expense, especially, if there's, 2 cars in the house, or, the kids are going to need cars too, and so that all needs to be included in proper retirement projections.
And I see that you have travel as a separate line item as well, with an ending date at 80. I think that's really smart, because people aren't going to be traveling the whole time that they're retired.
I agree, and through all of our experience and Dan's 30-plus years of working with clients, he's found that after the age of 80, travel really gets reduced. And oftentimes that money may go from traveling to increased medical expenses, which not only have we inflated it, but in situations where there might be some home care needed, or a nurse might come in, stuff like that we need to include, and we take stuff like travel off the chart because it's no longer applicable.
Well, thank you for putting this together for us. In summary, I think that you'll be able to see from the 2 scenarios that Sam has put together that if we don't factor in the right medical inflation rate and we just lump that in, and if we don't consider the fact that many affluent and upper end clients will end up receiving some kind of a Social Security cut, we can really end up showing them a scenario where we say, yes, go enjoy your retirement, you're going to have over $1 million at the end of the rainbow. But if we do that properly and really account for those, you can see that someone might actually run out of money. 2 very, very different outcomes. So again, I think this series is here to help equip you to be the best financial planner that you can possibly be. I know that Sam and I typically will update these financial projections, I would say on average every 3 to 5 years. When someone retires, we may do them more regularly the first couple of years. And I hope that your journey in giving advice is successful, and that you're able to help people navigate many of the complex decisions that they're making. We're signing off from Financial Planning World. Thanks for joining us today.